Hey everyone, this is Please Don't Kick Me Out, the only inclusive podcast about imposter syndrome. I am so excited to come to you today. You've heard Vincent, you've heard Tom, and now we have Estelle of the aforementioned fake band Toasters and Moose from the movie Vincent Gargiulo wrote and produced, and it's now viral and it never left, called Chickens in the Shadows. I'm sure you're sick of hearing about Taste the Biscuit. But today we've got Toasters on, which is my lovely friend who I've met through TikTok. And I just adore Estelle. Estelle, how are you
Hey,
doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really happy to be here too.
Me too. Me too. Before we pressed record, we were talking about how amazing this has been and how the biscuit got popular on your birthday last year, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's almost like fortuitous.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, life, what do you want me to do with this, man? It's just give me a few, you know me, give me a couple neon signs.
Yeah. Well, for anyone that doesn't know you, well, actually, for anyone that's coming here for you, hi, my name is Bianca Woolwick. This is my podcast about imposter syndrome. I've been doing this since March of 2020. I interview people all around the world to see if they feel like they fit in or feel other than, and how they experience imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is, of course, the feeling of feeling being feeling like you don't deserve your accomplishments, like being the stupidest person in the room, even though you're the smartest person in the room. It's just kind of shrouded in self-esteem, self-doubt. We'll get into that. But today, having Estelle on is so awesome. If you're listening to this in your earbuds, this is of course an audio podcast. Listen to it wherever. But if you want to see visually, we are on YouTube. Please click that link in the description of the podcast. Other notes before we get into it is like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. We would love that. And of course, buy my merch. Please don't kick me out.com/shop. Live your 90s fantasy. Thank you to Laura Russo, my key brander and graphic designer. Yaygraphicdesign.com. You can get all of that info in the description. Okay, that's everything. Bye-bye. Okay, so Estelle, how about you tell my listeners about yourself?
Okay. Well, I started writing plays when I was little and putting them on in the backyard, the garage, what have you, at school sometimes. My mother was an actress. She played Medea. It's not really that comfortable being the child of Medea.
Mhm.
And my dad was a singer. And I kind of just did it as a kid. I loved it. And I loved writing some too.
Yeah.
But then I kind of went through, and this is interesting. I think maybe, in context of what we're talking about here, I'd go in and out of theater, off and on during my youth.
Mhm.
So, and we moved constantly. My dad was an accountant, but he was working his way up through Price Waterhouse. And so I was always the new kid. And I felt like everybody else had known each other wherever. And I was like, oh, we're moving again. And so I remember I was hot on theater. We didn't really have, after school acting or like that, like some of the schools that I teach at now. But I loved it and I was doing it. And then I hit probably, like puberty. I, began to hit that. And at 12, I moved to a new school and they did like, abbreviated Shakespeare and stuff. And I couldn't do it. I didn't,
Mhm.
I just, and then in high school, I got back into it. And I've had periods where I do it for a while. Sometimes I mean, I've recognized that things come in waves for me. So I'll
Mhm.
teach for a while, I'll act for a while, I'll direct for a while, I'll paint for a while, whatever. But this I think had more to do with I don't know if I can compete. I don't know. I'm just I can't engage, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And so and I worked many years during the day to
Mhm.
um, finance my theater habit. I co-founded several different groups in the Bay Area, theater groups, and I would work high tech during the day.
Mhm.
And I got up to being like an executive assistant. And
Yeah.
I knew how to act, but so many things in my life I felt like there was a part of me that dreaded being exposed. Fraud,
Mhm. Mhm.
exposed as a loser, exposed as not belonging.
Yeah.
They'd be like, get out.
Please don't kick me out.
Yeah, right.
That's why it's called that.
Yeah, I always felt like I'd get this image of like being in the Stone Age and being one of the elders with no teeth, and they leave you behind, you know.
Oh no.
I know, or banished, that kind of.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that was often in the background, and I think it caused me unconsciously to sabotage myself many times. I had some great opportunities, some of which I took advantage of and had a great time with, and others they just fell apart in my hands. And I look back now and I go, yeah, I didn't think I deserved it.
Yeah.
So I kind of, fumble a great interview or, do something else mischievous.
It's so interesting because at the time of releasing this, Tom's will have been previously, since I recorded Tom's before yours, Vincent, then Tom, then you, all within about a month and a half. Which is great. It's awesome. But Tom actually told the story where he was deeply sharing a very vulnerable part of mental health, which I want to say, trigger warning for anyone who has a hard time hearing about mental health stuff. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a person who podcasts. Don't sue me. Anyway, he had told a story about how he had been asked to go to LA and write songs and music for gosh, it's popping out of my head, but the guy who did Twin Peaks.
I know.
Yes.
I remember.
And he just wasn't at a point in his life where he could have. And then he says he looks back on it now and it's regrettable, but it's not, because it's like it wasn't the right time. So when I heard you speaking about that, I thought of myself a lot. I heard you speaking about like just your life and acting, and also like financing the habit and all those things. That made me think of also Vincent's interview where Vincent works at an office, right? And he's like, what's my next step? I don't know. So what I think is so beautiful about you coming on the podcast today is you're sharing that you have done the corporate thing, you've done the creative thing, you've always found a way to keep creativity part of what you do. Because I see those are paintings that you've done behind you. I know that.
Yeah, except for the mermaid. One of my friends sent me that.
That's so cool. And I don't know. You just I've always identified, ever since the Biscuits come into my life, I've always identified with you and Tom and Vince and what you do, because myself as a creator as well, my background's in marketing. I just do this podcast right now. I live on Oahu. I'm a military spouse. I always feel like someone's going to come and like Scooby-Doo rip the mask off and be like, get out. But when I was in high school, I mean, I was always very creative. I was the newspaper editor. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I was a radio DJ all through college. I've always been very, very creative. And that's why marketing just kind of fell into it. When things were hard, I'd shy away from them, kind of, I can't do it or whatever. And so for me, when I was in high school, I really wanted to be in the jazz choir, like really badly. And I tried out and I didn't get it. And I did the voice lessons, and everything I tried out for, I was always overshadowed by someone. And I mean, none of those people went to Broadway. I do have a friend that is on Broadway that I went to college with, or she just previously was on 1776 Revival. Her name is Mary. She's incredible. And I couldn't be more proud of her. But I went to, more of an artsy kind of college, liberal arts college, where I was around more like-minded people. But the point being, in high school was I'd try out for things and I would just never get them. And it makes you feel so shitty because you're in high school, your hormones are going crazy. You feel like you think you're cool, but the director doesn't think so.
That's
it's awkward.
And it doesn't matter how successful you are, even the ones who are Susie successful or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're looking over their shoulders too. They really, we're all kind of, I don't know if I told you this, when Tom and I met, I'd answered, I think Tom came in through Craigslist.
Yeah.
And Vincent had put also a listing on a casting site at the time. And it was a long character thing. And it was a long explanation of the movie. And this was going to be my first and Tom's first indie movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read through it. It's just complex. And I went, all right, sing. But I'm still kind of going, because frequently I'll get involved in something that involves singing. And then I think, this would be great. It'd be a challenge. And a week later, some other part of me is going, fuck, what have you done? What are we doing? We can't do this. and so I got cast. Oh, I know what it was. The last line of the character description goes, her voice actually isn't really that bad.
And you're like, oh no.
I can pull that off, I think. And so I get cast. I asked Vincent, who he cast as Moose. He goes, oh, this guy Tom Shaw, he's in San Francisco. And I'm like, oh, okay. So this is 2000.
Google, go to the Google machine.
I went to Google because there was that at least. And although the internet was quite different, and
Yeah,
our
I remember.
viral contingent was quite.
Mm-hmm.
So at any rate, I go there. Tom Shaw's a pianist,
Mm-hmm.
he's a jazz singer. He has his own trio, and I'm like, I can't sing in front of him. He's Googling
Yeah,
me.
you said the same
Yeah,
thing.
she's a Shakespearean actress. She's a director, and we get there and we're kind of like, and then finally we confessed it and was like, dude, you're fine. She's like,
That's so funny. But
yeah,
the chemistry that it made was like, because you can feel it. And for anyone that hasn't seen Chickens in the Shadow, I'll be linking it. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to click the links to Tom's interview, Vincent's interview, and some other stuff around the interwebs. But it is a very, very good indie cult like film that just hasn't left. We're tasting the biscuit. If you're wondering and you're hearing this Taste the Biscuit for the first time, you're like, what the heck? I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. It is the jam. What Tom found a tweet that said like it should have been a Grammy winner.
yeah. And the guy from
Yeah.
Rolling Stone said, maybe this is exactly what we need after pandemic.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
in light that makes us happy and kind of pull together.
Truth. So we're on TikTok. If anyone's wondering, I'm on TikTok. Estelle's on TikTok. This brought Estelle to TikTok. So let's just give the backstory. So Chickens in the Shadow, it was a movie that was produced in 2010, released, and then went viral by a number of little tiny ways. Viral on the internet back then, like BuzzFeed wasn't big yet. There was a thing called World Star Hip Hop that like went thing, and then all of a sudden flew really close to the sun. George Lopez sang it with Billy Ray Cyrus on his show. Wild. Yeah. Random, makes no sense. And then it just kept going. Like, people were really into it on YouTube and really into it. And it kind of kept making its rounds, all while not paying Vincent for the rights, of course, but it kept going.
Right.
Then
I think he got a little bit from George Lopez.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to mercilessly, relentlessly make a joke about it, really sarcastic jokes about it. Yeah, we paid the guy. But what's really weird is we kind of go, oh my God, is our karma inextricably interwoven with
George Lopez?
Because, okay, so he did that and he had everybody sing it. It was like, okay, I paid the guy $200 or $400. Let's just sing the shit out of it. And so he did. And so, but then he was canceled soon after that. And we thought, oh my God, were we part of that?
Oh, they were like, no biscuits.
The day, I think it was early this year. No, it was end of last year. The day that we were interviewed by Access Daily, Mario Lopez.
Yeah.
So was George Lopez, because
what?
His daughter, I think, is kind of saving his ass, but that's my opinion. But his daughter has a new comedy show and he plays the dad in that. And I was like, because they showed that right after ours, and I went,
you gotta be kidding me. Yeah. Which is funny because we know the lore, right? Like the lore, but only the true biscuit heads, biscuit clan, biscuit cult. Yeah. I don't like calling it biscuit cult because I feel like cult is a very bad word.
Biscuit
but biscuit family, biscuit gang. I don't like that either. Biscuit heads. That's like parrot heads. I like that. But anyway, biscuit people, the biscuits. Yeah. I like the biscuits. The biscuits.
I like the biscuits, and people seem to be okay with biscuit fam. So
yeah. And so the biscuits, we've done digging. So like once the thing kind of popped in our timelines, us being mostly, if we have to typecast, we're mostly elder millennial, Gen X, or boomer facing, as the age would be. For those that identify very deeply, we're all neurodivergent. We had weird childhoods, weird parents, a lot of trauma. Most of us are queer, and a lot of us don't make very much money. That's us. That's biscuits. Taste it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and somebody mentioned something. There were enough references to Lady Gaga, and I want to get in touch with her and go, can I play your mother? But, there are a few artists out there who really, for whatever reason, their vibe is like, all of y'all who are loners and outcasts and weirdos and nerds and artists and this and that, I'm here for you,
Yeah.
that really moves me more than
Yeah.
anything else, because honestly, when I teach acting after school, I mean, there's the kids that are really into it, and that's great, and they're on fire for it. And there's a whole lot of other kids, and there's a lot of them that have just been signed up by their parents and they don't want to be there. But the loners and the outcasts, I mean, I've had classes that were just that, and they came in knowing nobody, and they left a year or two later. They're all tight buddies. They have friends now. And
Yeah.
it's like, God, I love that.
I love that
And I see
too.
that in some of the posts on TikTok where someone says, maybe the whole point was the friends we made along the way.
Absolutely. And I think that as well for many of, at least for me as a marketing background, a content creator and someone who went through a very, very tough mental breakdown in 2021, I didn't, yeah, I mean, a lot of us did. Hey,
Well,
raise your
actually,
hand.
mine was back in my 30s. It was a good one.
I was, how was, oh, I'm gonna be 34 this year. I was 32 to 33 was like the big,
Yeah, you get up to
like,
that crucifixion age, right?
yeah. Yeah, it was almost like I was like, what am I doing with my life? Where am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
Also, you compound like military stuff on top of it, and then like crisis identity and living on an island and all this stuff like rolled into a beautiful package. It equaled me like not getting out of bed for months at a time. And I'm not, I share that with my listeners as vulnerability to say that like it does get better. I know it sounds cliche. It took a lot, but I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. I tasted the biscuit. No, but really, I would scroll on TikTok and I would just doom scroll, and one day this Chrome lady just kept popping up like every fourth or fifth video. I was like, what is this? And then all of a sudden I see George Lopez do it. And at this point, I've seen like 50 of these videos. And I'm like, why is there so many biscuits in my
What is
timeline?
this?
Right. And I, of course, like as someone who has used TikTok for 3, going on 4 years, for me, it was just like whatever. As a marketer, as a content creator, I think about things in my head. I know virality, I know how things work, but I was just like, what is this? And I realized as soon as it inundated my timeline that no one else was on it, just us, the biscuits, right? So I posted a video.
Once you're into the
Yeah,
algorithm, yeah,
boom.
yeah.
And what happened from there was I never considered myself to have a niche. Like I started my TikTok for my dog, and then that turned into more of like me. And then I really am into the Goofy movies, so I turned it into like Powerline World Tour TikTok, where I get tagged in everything. A Goofy movie, which is by definition how I get followers. But I just oh, I said by definition how I get followers because I own the handle. I'm like,
yeah.
but I'm joking. I don't really know. I have interviewed the voice of Max Goofy, and he's great. He's lovely, which is cool. Like this podcast that's opened so many doors, but so is TikTok for me, right? Because I feel like we started to become like a family, like where basically we're posting these videos and then we're sending it to all the same people in it, and we keep doing it. We're reposting everything. We're going live with each other. We're for Christmas I made ornaments, and I sent them out free of charge to people. I was like, if you want to pay shipping, and they were more than happy to. I've seen biscuits help each other out of financial situations. I've seen biscuits make sure if you're unhoused that you have a place to sleep. I've seen biscuits come together in so many beautiful ways. I don't see that anywhere else on TikTok. And so I agree with Rolling Stone. I agree with you. And I agree with a lot of my friends on TikTok now that I've made that I'm forever indebted to, that had it not been for this thing, so many of us were very close to very, very, very dark and scary points.
I could see it and feel it, and I still do, in some subsequent posts that people make that, I mean, these things have cycles, and people are still struggling. And I think I was very much just immersed in imposter syndrome without knowing it, and in great denial. And by around 32, 33, I was having a nervous breakdown. In fact, I went to a therapist a little later, and I got up the courage at some point to go, I think I might have a nerve. And he goes, honey, it's already happened. And I pretty much left my body.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was so depressed. It was one night, it was an opening of some one acts, and I was producing them. I started cutting my hair, and I had long hair. And I cut it, cut it, cut it, cut it. And at some point I went stop because I was just going to cut it all. And it was not a nice cut, kind
Oh
of.
no. Oh
No,
no. It was
no,
manic,
it
a little bit
wasn't.
manic, a little bit. Yeah, just out of
No, it
out of
was more
sorts
like,
or
yeah, more like self-mutilation
Mhm.
of a different kind. And we didn't have like the cutting and
Right,
stuff.
right, right, right.
But I'll be honest, I heard voices saying, let's rub her out. And I
Mm.
had a hard time not driving full tilt boogie into walls, poles.
Yeah.
And I was in my car. And I, I stopped drinking, thinking maybe that would help. It sort of did, but again, I couldn't get out of bed for a month either. I went back and stayed at my dad's.
Yeah.
He's like going, honey, you just have to, get up and do something. And for
Yeah.
me, get up, drag a comb through my hair, put on some clothes.
Hmm.
That's pretty much it. So I get
Yeah.
it. I really do.
Yeah.
And it took a long time and a lot of help.
It does, and probably at the time too, there wasn't as many resources as there are now, and I feel in a lot of ways like my mom and my dad, for instance, like and my in-laws, like they're at an age where don't they call it counseling, they don't call it therapy, they don't call it therapist. It's still like there's dirty negative connotations towards like queer and that kind of stuff for them,
Yeah.
and that's fine. I mean, I'm used to my parents having, at least my parents, my personal actual parents having the thoughts that they have. I'm like, whatever, I can't change you, I can only change
Yeah.
me.
That's what they grew up with.
So a lot of us in the Gen X and millennial and even younger than are going through a lot of like self-actualization, self-realization, mental health work.
Mhm.
And I say that to people that it absolutely is a privilege that I have access to mental health care, and I'm very much aware of that. But if I'm not sharing a resource for everyone, then I'm not doing my job. There are free ways to get the help that you need. For one, if you live near a college or a university, usually they do very low cost to you. If there's a grad school program for psychology, there's psychology services, and sometimes they practice out to people that aren't within the college community. That's one resource. There's also, group therapy that you can go to. Churches sometimes host it. There's all sorts of meetings you can attend. There's self-help books. There's just so many resources. The good old Google machine, the internet.
Yeah.
And
There was
it's,
a fair amount of that.
yeah, there's
Although
just a
I
lot
will
of
say my
resource.
generation, as I was coming, like, my early 30s,
Mhm.
I had a stigma about it. I saw
Mhm.
going for help as a sign of weakness.
Same.
Absolutely. And I had to be pretty desperate to go do it. And thank God life kind of put somebody in my path who not only ended up being a great therapist or counselor for me, but also he was an artist, so he was an artistic mentor and kind of a second dad, So when he
Yeah.
passed just before
Oh,
pandemic, I was like, I'd seen it coming. I was preparing for it, and yet, living through it's like, mm.
yeah.
But now, as I gain distance from that, I realize what a gift from life that was.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like you probably feel similarly that you kind of, I'm not fond of the phrase pay it forward, I guess because it's not
Mhm.
warm enough to me, but there is a sense of that where you go, okay, the legacy is I do what, life puts in my path to help other people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, like right before I had that experience, that happened to me, which, at the same time of it happening to me, I had so many other factors going on in my life. And then I, got back into therapy, wasn't the right fit as a therapist out here. I finally found affirming care out here, a therapist that deals with gender, sexuality, military, and other things that I'm dealing
Right.
with. And so another piece of advice I just always like to share with people is if it doesn't fit, it's okay. Therapy is a
Oh yeah.
journey and it's supposed to be a mutual symbiotic relationship between you and your therapist. If it doesn't click, don't don't go to them, and that's
Yeah.
what they do, free counseling, free like fit sessions to figure it
I
out.
was looking for what could be called counseling or therapy. Therapy was like considered a little higher
Mhm.
level than counseling at the time. So I went to some different people and nothing quite felt right. And I remember sitting across from it was county. I went to county hospital and
Yeah.
counseling, therapy services they had. So I sat across the desk from this guy who was probably close to my age. and he was seeming more depressed than I was. And I thought, oh my God, I don't think this guy can help me. So when I did come across, the fellow that I ended up working with, um, it took me a while to kind of I got better. I was going through some other kinds of group therapy, and then I kept hearing things that he had told me in these few sessions, and I went, I got to go back and see that guy, because
Yeah.
that guy has got the clearest vision
Yeah.
and gets me
Yeah.
better than anybody else I've met. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. To touch on what you talked about being in your 30s, right? Like I remember being in my 20s and people be like, oh, when you hit your 30s, like it's going to be so great. Like, oh my gosh, your 30s are great. Well, got to my 30s, a pandemic happened. And then a lot of other things happened in my life that were just so different and hard. But I know that like as a non-binary person, my pronouns being she and they, and that's something I realized through the pandemic, through TikTok, and then also just through life and podcasting and my own exploration of myself and my identity. For me, it was just an interesting kind of like I took the pandemic as a lot of self-exploration, and this podcast is being an inclusive podcast and a safe space for voices of all backgrounds. I've interviewed people all over the world from all different racial, socioeconomic, and LGBTQI plus trans stories, gender affirmation stories, etc. I've shared everyone's story I can, and I've also done the work for diversity, equity, and inclusion on top of that. If I'm going to say that I'm a safe space as this podcast, as someone with white skin and privilege, inherent privilege that I did not earn, nor do I deserve, then I want to make sure that I am giving the best resource possible to everyone and doing the education so that my Black friends, my AAPI friends, my BIPOC friends, my queer friends don't have to do as much work. Now, whether or not people take that and they go with it, that's up to them. Now, living on an island, and as an empath on an island, I feel so much of, you can feel so much of the pain and anguish from colonization, as well as the way they treat the native peoples. So it's been and as an empath, like I think that kind of compiled on top of like everything else I was going through. And also, it's really hard when you move. I think I might've had a mental breakdown maybe in San Diego where we were, but I truly believe a lot of it had to do with just going from an island, but not only an island in a pandemic. Because like if you've been to Hawaii or you've been to Oahu, which is where I live, you know that there's this feeling of aloha spirit, and it's beautiful. It's what makes people want to live here.
Right.
Don't just please don't fatigue the islands. That's what we say. Come with aloha, leave with aloha. Aloha, thank you very mahalo nui for your support and
And there are people
continuation.
who actually would like the tourists to go home, and I understand.
Yeah. Which is hard because it's like I'm here because of my spouse's career.
Right.
I'm going to leave when it's done. But there's a lot of people who don't believe that. And so I don't know. So as I'm kind of like coming through with all these things and it's swirling, I didn't have any friends out here that like, so when moving to an island, it's like, I'm watching all of my friends go back to life in the real world, and they have like the parties and the things and the birthdays, and I'm not there because it's such a commitment to get in an airplane and travel those 5 hours to get back to the mainland and then go. And then when you do travel, which I've done, you do travel, people don't appreciate it. They don't realize how much of a trek that was.
Yeah. It's like going to Europe.
Oh yeah, exactly. They're like, like no big deal. And then you tell them like where yeah. So
I might make some time for you.
Right. And so those were hard pills to swallow and hard for me to get over, I guess. And so for me, once we moved, so we had our landlord and we moved. So we've been here 2 years in July. We moved into base housing, which we've never done, but we had a landlord that gouged our price. And we were like, this is insanity, literally, that you would want to charge us more when there's no hot water in the sinks. Like, what are you doing? So we were like,
I guess.
yeah, and they can because they can do whatever they want. There's scumlord landlords out here. Like they're everywhere. But of course out here,
they are everywhere.
It's disgusting because it basically, if you're doing this to us as military people, knowing full well we can pay it, then what are you doing to people who truly cannot afford to live here on their own island that you own a house on native land?
Right.
Riddle me that.
Right.
Like, so we moved into base housing in July. And also, huh?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, you can ask.
No, it's all right. I was gonna see if we had any questions from some of the
Oh
folks.
yeah, I'll get to that in one second.
Yeah,
So we moved
great.
here,
Yeah,
things
no
got
worries.
better, and then I found the biscuit, so we're good. Let's ask some questions. Thanks for reminding me,
All
Estelle. I have
right. Yeah,
ADHD. So I asked the question before because we're already talking about imposter syndrome, so we don't have to follow the usual format, which is great. I love it when that happens. It's so improvisational. So I
that's my
asked,
world too.
yeah, I asked, so for anyone that doesn't know, there is a Biscuit group on Facebook that we created. Well, I created it, and then Estelle, Tom, and Vincent Gardullo are admins, as well as some prolific people in the Biscuit bunch. So it's on Facebook. I will, of course, share that link, and it's great. So I'm just gonna pull up, I think I can share my screen. Let's share my screen.
Great.
Yeah,
Usually, yeah.
there you go. Oop. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so today I'm interviewing Estelle Piper for Please Don't Kick Me Out. Do you have a burning question for toasters? Pop it in here. We've got 10 likes. Okay.
Great.
So let's see. View more comments just to make sure.
Yep.
Heather Henderson says, please tell us what you thought when you discovered that the biscuit was alive and well on TikTok.
Well, I was astounded, and I'm a Leo, so as my dance teacher used to tell me, he goes, "It's not all about what you want, Estelle." And I go, "I don't do." Oh, wait a minute. So, so it was a part of me going, "Oh, it's on my birthday. It must mean something from the universe. It's really great." So I made sure. I think somebody sent Tom a couple of messages too, and he's like, "TikTok, what the, and." But I was like, guys, we're on TikTok. It's a big deal. It's thousands of likes, and I didn't know where this thing was going to go. And I was sort of like, oh my God. And sometimes Vincent, and I get it because he has he has his own band, he has, other projects he's moving forward with. And he goes, "It's back to haunt me again."
He's just so deadpan. It's so
I know,
funny.
it's so funny. I love it. And so I was pretty excited by it, but sort of like, wow, really? Okay,
Yeah.
great. But and then they TikTok took Dogface's thing down. Vincent put his actual one up, but that got some, and then they
Yeah.
let Dogface put that back up again. So we just kind of went, just roll with it. And I think when celebrities were posting and reposting it, Pee Wee Herman and Elijah Wood
No
and
way, really?
Snoop
It's
Dogg
that. I
and
miss the famous
Tesla and
biscuits.
Amy Sedaris, and it just goes on.
Oh
And
my
we're like,
gosh.
I mean, Tom made a TikTok video, I think, because he's always been he has a picture of Pee Wee Herman in his living room. And so he was just like, and it was so sweet. But yeah, and I think the first time I got on one of the TikTok posts and said, "Hey, whatever," everybody's like, I was stemming because we go, "Yes, Queen," and I'm like,
I think
"What?"
it was me. I was like, whoa, it's you.
Oh, honey, there was like hundreds, and I went, "Oh my God!" And when that gal, and I want to say, is it Joy or Yoy?
Mm,
She's on Broadway, and she's in
mm,
Les Miserables. She was in
hmm.
the Michael Jackson musical, and then there's another fellow. Oh God, I can't remember his name right now, but he's like the Len Cariou of this generation. He's done all the musicals. He's got a great voice, and she's gorgeous and has a great voice. And they're lip syncing the angry "Taste the Biscuit." And I'm listening, I'm having a surreal existential moment going, I'm listening to my acting and singing choices from 13 years ago,
Uh-huh.
lip synced by this girl who's a freaking star on Broadway, and going,
What an out of body experience. Like, I mean, I could never, that's gotta be so cool because it's like, it
it
just
was
living outside
bizarre.
you.
And I'm trying, we're very excited, but we're trying to be, grounded too. And so Tom wrote her, I believe on TikTok, and I wrote her back too. And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you." She goes, "No, thank you, Queen, what you've created." I'm all,
Ah, passing away. Be right back.
it was surreal.
That's so
So,
cool. Oh, I
yeah.
love
Or
that.
Justin, I mean, like when Snoop Dogg posted it, all these celebrities responded. So Justin Timberlake's like, that's hard, man. And then, all these black artists are like, she looks like fun. She's got confidence. We should
And you're
invite her
like, I
to a
sure
party.
am.
I wanted to go, yeah, do invite me to a party because it'll
You're
be
like, please. Please, my address is P.O. Box. Please don't kick me out. Yeah, no, that's
but
lovely.
it was lovely. And I think, realizing I had read, and I think I was on the news very recently, but I think it was approximately 2 out of 3 young women have severe depression right now, and the
Mhm.
pandemic did nothing, of course, to help that, but increased it for many people, and
Yeah.
I saw that,
Mhm.
um, I saw that in the posts and stuff, and people would write to us, whatever their orientation were, and say, you know, this song lifted me out of depression for the first time.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, like,
it did. I
yeah,
remember telling my
it
previous
moved me.
therapist.
It moved
Yeah.
me, really. I mean, I was,
Yeah.
when I see things like, these people making friends and they had some place to belong,
Yeah.
accepted them, and I could feel it. And I was like, because I was like, life, what but then I went, you know what? I'm,
I
I'm in.
think that's the coolest part is that you guys embraced it, right? Like you didn't just shy away. Like even Vincent, when he's like humble bragging. He's not, he's overwhelmed, of
Yeah,
course, but he's also like, whatever,
Virgo.
toasters, moose, you run the show. I'm gonna go do me. Like, and it's so fun, he's a funny dude.
But he's
Um,
also in when we need him. He's
yeah. I mean, the
like,
Christmas
we're
biscuits is
going
a
through
great
some things
example.
now where we're trying to decide some stuff. We may have a couple of offers on the table, and he's there, and he's pretty smart. He's very creative. So and definitely has his own vision of things. So it's
Yeah.
good for us to kind of mingle
Yeah.
stuff. But
Let's grab the next question if you're cool with that, Estelle.
oh,
The
good.
next question is from Dorsey Norris, and she said, are you a Californian or did you go there to follow your dreams? What inspired you to be a singer, actor, and artist?
Whoa. Okay. So I'm pretty sure I was conceived in California. My parents
Oh,
down by Carmel, Monterey. My mom was from Salinas. My dad was studying Russian. This is during the Korean War in the 50s. He was studying to be a Russian translator during the Cold War, so to speak, as well. Um, and so they got together, but then he got transferred to Amarillo, Texas, to the Air Force Base where I was born. So we were there 2 years. My dad was from Missouri. We moved there for about 8 years. I went up through, most of elementary school. And then at 10, he got transferred out to the Bay Area,
Mhm.
San Mateo, I think, actually. And so I thought California was going to be like, I don't know. I thought it was going to be this green paradise, but we had to travel through all these deserts and stuff. And actually, I remember going through the Mojave Desert. I'm 10. We see this. I mean, really, it was just like a wasteland back in 1963. And so there's this A&W root beer stand all by itself, way out there. So we stopped there. And my dad goes, honey, go out to the car and get the maps out of the glove compartment. So I go out there, and I think I fainted. I think I was probably
Oh
dehydrated.
no.
I did. So I wake up on the ground, and I've got, little rocks and sand all over me, and I'm all. So I get those out, and my dad goes, what took you so long? I go, I don't know. I fell, and then I woke up. And he goes, what? So he's like, eat, drink, whatever. But I felt like, we're coming through all of that in Bakersfield, which was not really a lovely place at the time. And it's like, I'm thinking it's going to be palm trees and paradise. And it's
No.
dry. And in summer, everything is golden brown. And in Missouri, which had, wet, humid summers, we'd have dandelions and stuff, and certain things had brambles, but a lot of the weeds here have stickers and stuff. And you're 10, maybe 12. I got a bike at 12, and they go practice in the backyard, and they never watered it. So I'm riding around in this crazy weed-ridden backyard, and when I fall, I got stickers all over me. And I was like,
Mhm.
I hate this place. But I've grown to love it so much. I went to college at San Jose State, and then I had a boyfriend who got transferred. He transferred over to Michigan State, and I went there. And so once again, I was back in, the winters and the thunderstorms and mosquitoes and all that stuff. And I missed California so bad because we really, I mean, we got a lot of weird shit here, but it's really such a melting pot. And you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
the 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 multicultural stuff, the beach. I mean, I would drive home in the summer times, cross country. Swear to God, get out of my car on Highway 80 above Sacramento, and I want to just kiss the ground at sunset and go
Oh,
here.
so
Um,
yeah.
so I that's kind of what happened. But I did go, to high school here and there. I thought about going to New York. I thought about going to Canada. I mean, Stratford, Ontario's up there and whatnot. Um, but I had a lot of personal stuff. My younger life was fairly drama ridden and had lots going on, and my family did too. So I came back here to kind of see what was going on. I had a brother that was in trouble, and then a brother who was kind of under the thumb of a very abusive my mother.
Mhm.
And so I begged my dad to let him go to a group home, which was a very new thing at that time. And he was doing that, and my parents were breaking up, and my dad had fallen in love with someone else. And I was like, oh my God, I got to go back home and see what the hell's going on. But as far as being an artist and an actor, my mom read to us a lot, and she'd been an actress. My dad was pretty good at that. He sang, had a beautiful voice. And I just, like I said, started writing plays, putting them on. I'd take books and take a scene or two and do that. Um, so it was always kind of in me. And I did draw a lot. I loved
Mhm.
that. And I guess I would direct these little plays with my brothers and our dog, and at school, with other students and stuff. But I ended up going to school for it,
Yeah.
with varying degrees of confidence and no confidence. Um, but I got in fairly quickly with different theater groups. There's a theater group in San Jose called City Lights Theater Company. It's been around since 1983, and I was a co-founder of that. Had my own 2 or 3 theater groups, which were a lot of fun. I got to do stuff I always.
Yeah.
But then painting, has kind of come up for me. Teaching, directing, um, a few other things. I love to dance and I love video games. I was a big follower of, I'm obsessed. I get obsessed with things. And so The Sims,
Oh my
uh,
gosh, I love The
singing
Sims.
monsters,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So, younger people would meet me and go, you know about that? I'm like, oh yeah.
You're
Oh
only
yeah.
as old as you feel, you gotta you
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
I think that those I'm never gonna have children. That's just a decision. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm a cool why not, and I always will be. I love my nephews. I love them.
Yeah. And I
But
get to work
give
with
it
kids.
back.
I get to work with, I teach kids
Yeah.
after school.
Yeah.
So I get to see kids all the time. I'm okay now that the
Hmm.
hormones have changed,
Hmm.
post-menopause. I don't feel that grief about not being a mother. But
Hmm.
I do look at little kids and go, but I wouldn't mind being a grandma and, just playing with them for a while,
Yeah.
give them back.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it's something my husband and I permanently made the thing. Well, I'll touch on that and then I'll go back to just kind of talking about your background, which thank you so much for sharing, and thank you, Dorsey, for your question. That was really great.
Yes.
We appreciate that. So, just to talk about that, I think that's something that a lot of people. I'm a lot more comfortable talking about it now than I was, where I think that it's weird as being as a woman, even though I am quote unquote non-binary or whatever, or yes, I do have the woman parts and stuff, and maybe I don't identify with that. My gender is whatever I might want to make it, and it's my self-expression is who I am. So I think like when I tell people, it's only with women and trans people, quite frankly, like where they feel comfortable being like, oh, so like when I tell people it's child free, it's permanent. I don't need it. I feel like I don't need to tell them like I say that. I feel like I need to say that, right? Or I say I don't have children, then they press you, they press you, they press you, they press you.
That I don't care for.
And I don't like that. I think
No,
why do we, and the only other thing I can think of is like,
because we're conditioned to, and
right,
for some people, that's very important. That may actually be
right.
beneficial for their development. I
Yeah,
went to my guy,
yeah,
who was my advisor, if you will, and I I lost a few pregnancies,
yeah. I'm so sorry.
and yeah, and I kind of went to him and I said, "Is this?" he was a psychic as well, and a healer, and all kinds of. So
Very San Francisco.
I have an interesting, well, it's very California, but it's a very interesting background, and
Yeah.
I don't talk about it much because I still
Yeah.
think I'm going to get burned at the stake. So,
Yeah.
but I said, do I need to be a parent for my development this time around? He was like, no.
Mhm.
He said, I know I say it's an experience not to be missed, but it's not for everybody. He says, and you have several ways you can fulfill yourself. So
That's exactly how I feel.
yeah. And I went through, I was unaware. I can see it now so easily, but I was
Mhm.
unaware of my own orientation for a long time.
Mhm.
And I think growing up in the 50s and 60s with good reason, because I probably would have gotten the shit beaten out of me.
Gosh.
Seriously. It was bad enough being a girl.
Mhm.
I can tell you some things that happened to me just in school.
Yeah. I remember my mom telling me stuff too.
Well, yeah, and I remember being 5 and some guy pulling up next to me in a big car in a nice suit and a big bag of candy and going, "Come on, Eddie, come on."
Ah,
Oh yeah.
wild times. That's scary too, thinking back on it.
Well, and I don't even remember having that conversation with my parents. Maybe we did.
Yeah.
Something told me, and it's a good thing he didn't have anything like with caramel because I might
Oh
have.
God.
But
Still.
I didn't like the candy he had.
Yeah.
But something told me, don't get in that car. Don't get in that car with that guy. So I didn't. And he was mad at me. And after 2 blocks, he zoomed off. But I I didn't realize that I was bi.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of people know that, like early
Hmm.
on, yeah, I was definitely gay. I had, whatever. But I look back and I had crushes on girls. I had bigger crushes on guys, but I had crushes on girls too.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out why gay women kept asking me out. And I go, did I flirt with you? And they're like, no, I just want to ask you out. And I'd be like, I came with the big look. They go, we know. So what? And so, and I had a bunch of different experiences, and
Yeah.
people I fell in love with. But I think one of the great things, and this may tie back kind of into what we were talking
Hmm.
about, is that part of actually pandemic for me was allowing myself my introvert side, which I don't use. And
Hmm.
it took me a long time to realize as much time as I spend with people and I can be the freaking life of the party and
Yeah.
make it, make the energy go. But I need almost the same amount of time on my own uh, as I spend with people. And so having that time kind of compulsorily, um, I had been so busy, and I've always been like most of my life, so busy, so busy. Everything's back to back to back, or it's inter overlapping, and then I throw down one pile of shit and I run off and go to and
Yeah.
so having that made me go, one, I need the time to myself, and two, begin to accept myself. I've been starting to accept myself more and more, and my work with my therapist had always been going in that direction. And he was the one, that would gently tell me about it and go, well, this is kind of what's going on with you. And I go, really? And so coming to terms with saying, all right, I'm bi.
Yeah.
Life put me in here for some reason, just the way I am. I have something that life wants, and all of us do. Every
Yeah.
single, there's something life wants to express through us that can't be expressed the same way through anyone else.
Yeah. I love that. Well, congratulations on realizing that about yourself. Of course,
Oh
this is a
yeah.
safe space, and it's
I mean, I can
amazing
see that,
to know
looking back, and I
that.
go, oh, I had a crush on her, and
It's funny because I'm
as well
pan.
as him and him and
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm pan. I've
But I'm in
never,
this female body,
yeah.
and for me, everybody has a different path.
Yeah.
For me, it was important to go, I can be whatever I want.
Hmm.
It's okay to do it in a female body.
Right.
Okay to be
Right.
masculine. It's okay to be assertive.
Yep.
It's okay to be quiet. It's okay to be using more feminine.
Yeah.
I can be paternal. I can be maternal.
Hmm.
Like with my kids, feminine energy will usually work better with the girls, but not always. I have a lot of very feminine boys in class too, and so it varies what each kid's going to respond to. It's like a grown-up actor. You're going to go, what's their language? How will they hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. For me, uh, labeling it had, for me, having a podcast about imposter syndrome, labeling it felt more freeing because originally I was like, oh, you're just the straight ally. You're just a straight ally. And it's like, no, because as soon as I realized these things and I started the therapy on the work and all of that and the self-actualization and the pandemic, and it's all swirling, figuring things out
It's an interesting
about
time for introspection, wasn't it?
right.
Yeah.
And also, my husband was deployed and I got on the mask lesbian TikTok, and I'll tell you, didn't think that that was a thing, but I was like, okay, yeah, okay. And but also through self-actualization, self-realization, and knowing more and more and meeting more and more queer people, and knowing, because owning a home in San Diego and being in San Diego, and San Diego is my home, even though that's not where I'm truly from. It is
Right.
my home. I remember my parents are from
Yeah.
Bay Area.
Yeah.
My parents from Bay Area, and my dad went to UC Davis and got a job and worked at IBM for a number of years. And that's what got us in Minnesota. We were born there. Then we moved for his job to Colorado when I was 10. So mostly identify from Colorado. This is Denver Skyline, mostly Colorado. But at the same time, like, it never fit. Minnesota didn't fit. California, at least Northern California for me, didn't really fit.
Yeah.
But then I met my husband, and he's from Southern California, and he was stationed out at Buckley Air Force Base, but now Space Force Base. And we met, and he was like, I'm from LA and LA County kind of area, like Anaheim, near Anaheim. And we went back, and I saw LA and Southern California through his eyes, because my sister lived there, but she never really like left the house or wanted to go do anything fun when I'd visit. So I never really got to see LA. So I kind of was like meh about LA. And I still
Right.
can kind of like meh about LA. But it wasn't until we went to San
To
Diego.
enjoy, but also a lot of things to be met about. But San
There's
Diego,
San Diego's a very, very chill. It's like Denver with waves.
yeah, and there's theater and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when we moved, we took orders there and we moved there. I mean, I just really slotted in. I had queer friends that were already there that were from Denver, that I was just like, boop, +1, and I would just like go to Hillcrest, and that was my stomping grounds. And
Well,
it was just
growing up,
amazing.
yeah, growing up, doing theater and dance. I mean, there were generally a lot of gay men. There were some gay,
Mhm.
but not that many. But it was hard to find a straight guy in theater.
Nowadays, maybe not, but that back then,
Yeah,
yes.
and I went through a couple of experiences where I was either very close friends or boyfriend, girlfriend with people who came out of the closet during high school, which was eye-opening. So by the time I got to college and I saw these gals trying to make these guys switch, it was like, honey, no.
They're not going to ever.
I mean, you go back to the old Seinfeld gags and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. Something that comes up in conversations
Mhm.
a lot more for me these days with folks is that we have our birth family or our birth
Mhm.
circumstances and then our chosen family.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times the birth family is not so great for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
There are a lot of
And
people. You're
and
right.
what's one of the things my dance teacher said was it's because I was like we're always in these podunk towns when I was growing up. I was like, I want to be in a city. Now I love this quiet
Yeah.
Pleasanton. I love it. But he said it's not so much about where you came from. It's about where
Mhm.
you're going to. And I was,
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
oh yeah, yeah.
That is something I was going to say, is that the only other thing that I feel people, besides babies, your genitals, and one other thing was that if you say you're not close with your family,
Oh
people
yeah.
who have quote unquote a normal family don't understand what that means. And
No,
maybe it's an unpopular
that's
opinion,
okay.
but
It's okay.
for me, it's like, I don't understand why, if I'm telling you I don't want children, why we need to press me. If I tell you I'm queer, why I have to explain it. And then if I tell you that I'm not close with my family, I before recording this told you my parents, my
Yeah.
parents, my actual parents, my birth parents are coming to visit me, which I'm excited about because I've done a lot of healing work in therapy. They're not bad people. They love me in the way that they love me.
Yeah.
It's not the relationship I
They
needed,
are
and that's
who they are.
okay.
They are who they are.
They
And
are who they are.
one of
And
the
I've
things that my
made
dance
peace.
teacher used to say too, and it took me a while to go, huh? But he said it takes us a long time to realize that parents, but generally all
Mhm.
adults, are simply children
Mhm.
who got here earlier. That's all they
Yep.
are.
Yeah. And so, but to your point, my chosen family are my Jason and Daniel in San Diego, my Trey and Sean, my other people, my tattoo artist and her kid Lena and her husband Tim. Like
These are the
my
people you
family,
bond with,
those are my
right?
people that
Yeah.
I basically kind of say is like, if once you're, I'm a Gemini, but I'm very loyal, and I am incredibly like, once you're my friend, and I have ADHD as well and neurodivergence. So like,
I
if
get
we
along
lose
with
touch,
Geminis. There's a
yeah, if
lot
we
of
lose,
Geminis
Leo, but my
around.
dad's a Leo, so that's how I know. My
Yeah.
mom's a Gemini, sister's a Gemini, I'm a Gemini, my husband's a Gemini, and
Wow.
both of my father-in-law and my father are Leos. So for me, like, I'm very, very, very loyal, even if like we lose touch, right? Like for my
Oh yeah.
friends, they know this. If I lose touch with you and we come back in, I'm the kind of
Yeah.
person that it's like no time passes.
Oh yeah, exactly. And those are the best
And that's
friendships.
family,
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
is knowing that you have no judgment, no basis. So my husband and I, we always host a Friendsgiving versus a Thanksgiving, because we feel that Thanksgiving, minus the tones of Native people, let's not do that. But Friendsgiving
Yeah.
is more than a holiday to us. It is where we show gratitude for the people around us and the thanks. We always open our home up for any of the holidays because military family we are. So we're always know that there's some sailor, some soldier, some Marine who might, or Coast Guard or whoever, who might, or even just a civilian who might need a home, and we always open ours, and that's just who we are as people. But like the thing is that family is who you choose 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And also, the more open you can be to people and their experiences, the better, because I think a pandemic has also made a lot of people bitter. And it hasn't made some people better. And that's not my tribe then. Like, it
Yeah, I
just
get
is who
yeah,
you pick.
I get that. And it is who you pick, and it's who you really, I don't know, yeah, you can say wavelength or vibes, or you're on the same
Mhm.
ray,
Yeah.
whatever. But you kind of know. Yeah, sometimes it develops, and you go, "Huh, I didn't think much of them to begin with. I
Yeah.
love them." But a lot of times, very early on, and it's kind of like I'm grateful for that. I kind of go, "Good." People, because I'll see things like this on Facebook where they go, "Everybody has a mother. Do this and this and this and this," and I'm like, I
No.
don't really celebrate Mother's Day. And
Neither do
there
I.
are people who fulfilled that function more for me,
Hmm.
who were much better to me than mine was, to me or
Hmm.
my brothers. And I was talking to my youngest brother, who's we're the only ones left out of that nuclear family, and I just was like, yeah, I mean, Father's Day, I'll remember, I'll honor him. He at least tried. Um, but there was this is awful. Do you know who Tracy Ullman is?
Hmm.
Okay, so very early Tracy Ullman days. I think it was Julie Kavner and Dan Capoletti. I play a the therapist and his client,
Hmm.
and Julie Kavner is the client, and she looks great. Usually she plays kind of a more plain character, but her hair is coiffed. She's in this marvelous coat, this amazing, and she's, you know, and Dan Capoletti is balding, and he's the therapist, right? And he's like, oh. And so he goes, wow, 10 years therapy has really done a great deal for you, because when you came here, you didn't have a relationship, and didn't have a job, and your mother was driving you crazy, and now you have this great career, you have a wonderful marriage, and your mother's dead. I laughed. Everybody in the room looked
Oh
at
God.
me. And I went, there's no way they can get it. I
Yeah.
yeah.
You
I,
sounded like Natasha Leone right there, though. Like spot on impression.
oh yeah.
Yeah. No, but I love that. And I think, that it's without even meaning to, we've touched on fanaticals and popular opinions. We've touched on
Oh
everything
yeah.
within this interview. So I
Yeah.
guess like the one true question off my as because I think, we're at a point where we can continue to talk forever, but now we're best friends, so it's fine. And I can't wait to meet you
Well,
in
we will
person one
talk
day, my
more. You know
beautiful
that.
dear Estelle. But the one question I will ask you from this podcast intake sheet that you were so grateful and so gracious to fill out is, what's currently making you happy in the world?
Mm. Well, honestly, Taste the Biscuit is one of them. And that just keeps, it's like a popcorn popper, just new things pop
So
in.
fun.
And I go, we're going to go there? Oh, okay. Or, whatever. Oh my God, look at this video, but I'm not painting currently, but I've been painting for several years now. Usually acrylics. You can see some of this in the
They're
back.
cool. I like them.
Yeah, thank you. My style is already changing, as we go, but that's to be expected, I guess. Um, my dance teacher is gone, but I dance on my own. I'll just put music on, and honest to God, if I can start a day out like that, I don't know. I just,
You gotta start going live and dancing. You gotta get like, the biscuits
we
to dance
should.
with
I don't,
you.
yeah. And I teach these kids after school, and watching a moment, it happens with adults too, but it's pretty pure with kids most of the time when something clicks and they start blossoming right in front of your eyes, and something they've never been able to express comes out of it. You're like,
That's so cool.
I got to be part of that. Let's see what else. It's hard to say. There's several things that I really love. I got a couple of games. There's a stories game called Choices that I love because
Ooh.
you can choose. They're like books, and some of the current ones aren't as good as some of the older ones, but it's by a company called Pixelberry, and Choices, it's called Choices Stories You Play. I'm not trying to do an ad for it, but one of the things I love is it says the game with a heart, and I went, well, that's a big claim. And then I loved some of their stories, and every once in a while you get a choice, two or three, four choices,
Oh, I
and
used to play these. I
they
love these.
it could change a relationship. It could change some of the plot. It could change this, that, or you could participate. Of course, you're going to pay diamonds for it. You could wear a certain outfit that's going to influence people, or you're going to do an event that will kind of give you more information. But some of them were just, and once again, I fell in love with, fictional characters. I love him or her or whatever.
It's
So
funny.
yeah, I love that. And honestly, I think what I was gonna say earlier is that strangely enough to me, I am the happiest I've probably been.
I
These
love that.
Yeah, I'll be 70 this year.
No, what?
Wait, yeah.
Wow.
And I'm the happiest I've been. Um, I feel my heart, you know,
Yeah.
more. There were some things that happened during pandemic that helped that. I think I've had what I call an inner tyrant. It could have come from my parents or whatever, but it's just been like, for decades. And
Yeah.
at some point, I had a couple of weird conversations, and I had some very strange things happen during pandemic. You can talk about
Yeah.
off camera or some other time,
Yeah, absolutely.
but there were parts of my identity
Hmm.
that began to finally communicate a little. And one was that, this inner tyrant was constantly criticizing me, constantly
Hmm.
pushing me. And at some point, some part of me went, stop.
Yeah.
You're not in charge. In fact, you can take the fucking day off.
Yeah.
We heard you. And this was something I learned through some of the recovery rooms is, they talk about the committee of voices in your head, right?
Hmm.
And how you can go, and this is a tool, you can go, okay, great, from one of these critical
Yeah.
voices, thanks, got it. However, you're not going to be making the decision today. Someone else will. and I think the other thing was that my head has always felt like it's in charge. So my heart will start to feel something. My head will go, oh, no, that's not possible. We can't possibly do that. And in fact, here's how it won't work. And I realized why I've picked people who externalize that for me. And at some point, my heart went, stop. You are not in charge either.
Yeah.
In fact, your job, brain, is to get me what I need.
Yeah.
You to do that job. And my brain, of course, is like, what? But it was an interesting moment. I mean, it actually
Yeah.
happened. And, I had another moment that was like, uh, um, it was like 3 in the morning, and you know how you're surfing at 3 in the morning sometimes. And,
Sometimes doom scrolling, you
right,
know.
I'm YouTubing at that point, and I run across what was a very moving video from a young woman who was autistic. And she was talking about something I hadn't realized before, which is that, you know, boys, people who present as boys are allowed to act out certain things more than people who present as girls.
Truth.
And that as a result, autism is not diagnosed, as we
Mm-hmm.
know now, until later or much later. So
Mm-hmm.
she went through all of this, and she talked about it, and she was so eloquent now. Just I was almost in tears. And then it flashed it. And this always gets me. And it happened with AA, and it happened the first time I got pregnant. Somebody flashes you a list of 10 items. Do you, you know,
Oh
so
no. Here you are self-diagnosing.
yeah. And so here's the autistic list. And I'm like, I had that. I had that. I had that. Oh my God, I think I have that too. So I went, and out of 10, I probably had 7. And I began to breathe faster. And I thought, I've got to get somebody to, how can I do this? And some part of me went, no, we've made it this far,
Yeah.
just like this. If it's clear that I need to get help, I'll know.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I have gone this
This
far.
long. Yeah.
And you know, maybe there's some things to learn. Maybe there's some things that will be helpful. But I was like, stop. Whatever these, my dance teacher actually told me, he said, for you, it's very important that you tell your negative voices. Are you ready for this? Hope I can do this.
Yeah.
And he said, do it. He was always a hands-on. He goes, do it now. So then I
And you
do.
went
And he goes, do it
boop.
again, do it again. Okay. And just as I'm getting into it, he goes, that's good. That's good. And I thought, oh, but I realized now I was getting it. So, you know, he was like, do it again, do it again. But he says, how does that feel? And I went, oh my God, that feels pretty good. Tell them.
Yeah.
And he says, for you, that's very important. So for everybody, you know, it's going to be different. But even during pandemic, I had to go, you're done.
Yeah.
Take a hike for the day. And
Yeah.
my heart got to come out and
Yeah. Yeah. Look at you.
yeah, yeah.
Living your best life, living your best biscuit life. I love
That's
it.
after being scammed by a romance scammer
What?
and
Oh my
getting
God, wild. I'm gonna have to have you on again or one day, or you
yes,
tell me
yeah.
offline because that's a
Because
wild story.
I could write a book about scamming.
Please write a book.
Oh
There's a
my,
podcast that's great called The Scam Artist, which I'll send to you. It's really, really good. But also like, I'm so sorry that that happened to you, but now you're on TikTok and now you can scam people. Hey.
well, actually, we come back to that. I actually have an idea. You know, it's perhaps natural to conclusion to jump to, but you know, I do scammers. I feed them just enough, and when they, you know, they whatever make it whatever their proposition is or what they really want, then I either turn them into the media, report them to the media they approach me on, or if it's really bad, I turn them into the FTC.
Heck
And
yeah.
I was kind of a one-woman vigilante for a while in 2020, and then I went, okay, girl, get a life. But we'll talk about that some other time. But at any rate, yeah. So pandemic was horrible, and yet it may have saved me in certain ways.
Hmm.
It was like a forced sabbatical,
Yeah.
and I found
I don't know. There it is. There it is. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, now I have to clip this? What?
And we're back.
And we're back. Oh no. Stupid Zoom.
So you were saying about, we were talking about what a mixed kind of blessing pandemic was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think one thing that also came out of that was we got to experience a very different context.
Mhm.
We're throwing on our own resources, but the pace, it drove some people crazy. For me, I went, oh, this is great. And
Yeah.
I was just starting to say I loved hearing. They say that the scientists say that birds actually changed their calls during the pandemic with the absence of humanity roaming around.
Yeah.
And so I would hear all these animals because I live close to a river.
Hmm.
It was, and not hearing traffic all the time. It was just like, I mean, it was this great silence, but part of it was kind of wonderful. But for many, it was tough. And of course, the virus itself. I mean,
Hmm.
I lost teeth.
Oof.
I lost a lot of teeth. I was in Zoom performances with hardly any, playing
Poor
like,
thing.
and I didn't know. I mean, it was a revelation to find out how freaked out that would make me.
Hmm.
And just go, Estelle, you got to take your own acting advice and believe in that character and create that world, and not worry about this toothless old woman trying to play an executive or whatever the hell it was. There was a lot of stuff that happened. It was like,
Yeah.
whoa. But I don't know. I came away with some great stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, I just have to say, like, everyone went through the pandemic differently. My husband was deployed. So what he went through, I went through so differently. We're still figuring out
Oh
what that
yeah.
looks like. I think we all as a society are figuring out what that looks like because it was awful for everyone. It was great in ways, it was awful in ways. And so interesting how it ripple affected, right? It's like it's going to
And
be
the
something we
fact that
talk
we
about for
all
years.
went through it. We all
Yeah.
went through it.
Finally, something the world all went through, which
Yes.
is it's been so long since that's been a collective
Uh,
thing.
yeah, and I think that's one of the things that comes out of like disasters, an earthquake or whatever,
Hmm.
is that for a little bit, everybody goes, we're all in this together. And
Yeah.
and that feeling is something that fades so quickly in the humdrum workaday world, and yet that's right
Yeah.
underneath everything.
Yeah. And it's just if you had told me like 3 years ago that one day you'll be sitting with this beautiful actress that you met through TikTok, you'd be wearing you as a baby as earrings, which is a
Uh-huh.
stupid ass TikTok trend. And you'd be wearing a Toasters and Moose official man merch shirt from
That I
Threadless.
would have a Toasters and Moose interview.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I would say you're batshit crazy, man. No way.
And you know what?
But it's
Yeah.
okay.
That's one of the things about life, and I have to say, even my younger life, was I would begin to tell myself, never say never, because if
Hmm.
I said I'll never do,
Hmm.
that's what I'd be doing within 6 months. Now,
Yeah.
supposedly I have a more karma than usual lifetime, but I kind of go this and so many other things. I just kind of go, you just never know. I mean, you go, I'll never do that, or that'll never work out.
I said I'd never do TikTok, and I have TikTok.
Yeah. Well, I got on TikTok before, but that was actually I was trying to learn more about Native American things
Hmm.
and creators and what was going on, because I could see that I was well intentioned, but as I listened to and read things by Native creators, on social media, I realized I had been conditioned, indoctrinated, and I was very naive. And I went, oh.
Hmm.
So I thought, all right, well, let me learn some more. And some of them were on TikTok as well as some other media. So that's kind of where I was with that. And there was some music and a few other cool things that I liked. Some choices stuff.
Yeah.
I just saw some of the Biscuit fam uh,
Yeah.
posted some stuff using My Singing Monsters music. And
Hmm.
it was like I was a kid opening the door to fairyland for a minute. I was like, where have I heard that? What is that? I know that, and I was like, oh my God, it's my singing monsters. So then I had to go Google it and go, yep, that's the ice world, or whatever the
Yeah.
ice. But yeah, I don't know that I ran across a quote, I think it was this morning, that said, and it was somebody who was a really, I'll see if I can find it. I mean, a really legitimate kind of, philosopher or something. And they're like, if you don't have the child in you as you age,
Hmm.
life's going to be pretty grim.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have a sense of humor, life gets real grim. And if you can't laugh at yourself, life gets real,
Right.
real fast. And so to be able to laugh and not be hiding behind it, but to start to see what I think people do through the centuries have called the divine comedy. I mean, you go, this human race, there's just
Right.
things they don't learn. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then there's other things you go, oh my God, look what that man did for that animal. Look what that
Right.
woman did for that poor young man that was, in trouble.
Hmm.
Oh, hmm, well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to give up on him yet, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's inherent good in the world, and I choose to believe that people are mostly good. As much as I tell people I hate people, I don't hate people. I am very open to people, but I'm, as an empath, very careful, very selective. But I will say everyone in the Biscuit bunch is part of my Ohana in terms of my family out here. Estelle, as we wind down, I just want to give you my deepest, deepest gratitude and thankfulness that you chose to be on Little My podcast about imposter syndrome. I really believe what you talked about will help those who are maybe struggling with depression, maybe struggling with mental health, maybe struggling with gender, sexuality, all that stuff. I think this is a great, great resource for someone who's interested in acting, or what could I make this a career? What can I do? I think it was just a beautiful conversation. So
We need to find
yeah,
whatever our mode or modes of expression are. There is something
yeah,
that life wants to do through us, whatever that is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we wind down, I want to say thank you so much for being on Please Don't Kick Me Out.com. Sorry, Please Don't Kick Me Out. Please Don't Kick Me Out.com. Once again, if you're new here, hi, my name is Bianca Walwick. If you like what you hear, like, subscribe, rate, share, follow Estelle. All of the information will be in the description, both on YouTube, or if you're listening in your audio earbuds, in the description of the podcast. Again, you can go to pleasedon'tkickmeout.com/shop, buy some merch, subscribe to my podcast. That's how I make money.
Yes, and you
Please.
can buy one of those toasters and mousse
You
t-shirts
sure
that
can.
Bianca is wearing.
Yeah, you can. If you can't hear, if you're only hearing it, it's a purple shirt. It says Toasters and Moose Fan Club with a circle. It's really cool. You can go to Threadless. You can go to Taste. You know what? I'll put it in the chat.
All right,
And
great.
yeah, so thank you so much, Estelle. And I
Yeah,
hope you have
thank
a
you.
beautiful rest of your day. Taste the biscuit.
Goodness of the biscuit.
Mwah, mahalo nui.